So, Jarvis, it's Christmas time in July, otherwise known as the official opening of training camp. Of course, rookies reported last week, but the veterans are reporting today. The guys put on their pads tomorrow, and we're going to bring you all the action and all the reaction from Flowery Branch that we can this week. So, of course, you guys know yesterday we talked a lot about position battles, right? And we talked about what we wanted to see, who we had our eye on, if you will. Now we want to kind of break that down even more and talk about strengths, right? And that could be the strength of an individual player. That can be the strength at a position. Jarvis, that can even be the strength 11, all 11 on one side of the ball, if you will.
Right.
But there is a strength in your mind that you see and are encouraged about heading into camp, not just for what it's going to mean as far as any position battles, which you really don't have some on one side of the ball, but anywho, but more importantly, how that's going to make it competitive in training camp and the preseason that's going to spill over into the regular season. So where do you see that strength? Where are you encouraged as we head into camp this year?
It has to be the secondary because when I think like we think about like guys who were playing last year, especially when AJ Terrell went down, it was ugly. Let's just be quite honest. That secondary was ugly. When you talk about Cornell Armstrong and guys like that being constantly picked on, game in and game out. Once like you said, once AJ Terrell went down, so I think that has the potential to be one the strongest group on defense. Now, as a former defensive lineman, I'm saying like, okay, that might not mean anything. But when you think about the veteran that they have in there, right? You're talking about Jesse Bates III, who they tell me that hey, he's one of the best safeties in the league. I don't want to see that. That's what I want to see. I want to see that all pro caliber type thing because he's a one-time all pro. He hasn't been in there in a couple of years, so I want to see him get back to that level of play. And if they get that, the Falcons have a chance to be really good on the back end of this defense. Now we talk about Richie Grant. We saw some development last year.
Yes.
Played all the games. Of course, he had his moments, but you saw that he took that leap, right? That jump that you look for when guys are going into their second and third years into the NFL. So I'm okay there. AJ Terrell had a little bit of a down year dealing with the injuries as well. So you hope he get back not fully healthy coming into the season. You hope he gets back to where he needs to be. And the other piece is there's two other spots I'm gonna go ahead and throw in there because hey, nickel corner is a starting spot. You got Jeff Okuda, who we know more than likely he's gonna be CB2, but the nickel spot, who a lot of people are saying that is going to be a competition.
Mm-hmm.
Me, on the other hand, I don't see that. I see D Offer as locking in that spot. As long as he comes in and continues to do what he's been doing, he's going to be the starter at that nickel corner. So, yeah, when I'm throwing out those names and putting all those guys together, I'm sitting up here like, okay, these guys might have a chance to be some decent secondary. And if they're able to get somewhat of a pass rush,
Mm-hmm.
some pressure, whether it be from a guy with his hand in the dirt or somebody standing up like Caden Ellis and they're bringing pressure from that second level. I think that this has a chance to be probably one of the better groups in the league if everything pans out right.
Yeah. And not only that, I think just to add to that, having that type of group and having Jerry Gray be so excited
Oh
about the
yes.
opportunity
Yeah.
to coach up AJ Terrell to be even better and to coach up Jeff Okuda to get back to what we saw, as he stated when I asked him one-on-one a couple weeks ago, what he saw in Okuda at Ohio State. So
Yeah.
I like that because we know Jerry Gray is essentially known as not just the defense whisperer, but the DB whisperer. So I just
Yes.
feel like they've got the perfect guy to take the tools and resources that he has to be able to do something with them. And like you said, Richie Grant showed us something last year. He showed us the growth that we were looking for. Jalen Hawkins, he's got to get into form. So Jerry Gray seems like the guy that can get him there. But I would agree with you. That's a pretty good group, a pretty good position group to say, hey, that's a strength and that you're encouraged by them. I'm going to go with the running back core. I think that
Okay.
that's a very
Oh,
strong group.
yes,
Captain
absolutely.
Obvious
You
on
know.
it, but I'm going to go Captain Obvious on it because
yes.
I really
Yes.
do think that is a
Yeah.
super strength, if not a superpower for the Falcons, because you go out and get a Bijan Robinson and you're looking at him to the tune of people asking about a rookie possibly having a 1,000 type year in his rookie season We're talking
Yeah,
rushing
that's a
and
lot. Yeah.
receiving yards. When you're compared, when LaDainian Tomlinson says you remind him of himself, that's pretty
That's a
high
lot.
praise. Yeah, pretty high praise. So I'm going to go with him, and the fact that we are having that same conversation about Cordero Patterson, wondering, ooh, okay, are they going to use him more as a running back or a receiver? That is a good problem to have, because that means that your RB1, quote unquote, and your RB2, quote unquote, are also kind of like your, I'm going to say wide receiver, WR maybe 4, WR maybe
Mm-hmm.
3 at times. And of course, probably your 5 and 6 if we're honest about what's going on in the receiving room. So I like those
Absolutely.
two as giving that strength, but also a Tyler Algier, because we saw him, the more he played, the better he got. So I can only imagine. And one thing I'll be looking for is what happens kind of on that downslope where you and I kind of look around if they set up again like they usually do. And you've got kind of the running backs over here, and they're over there with the jug machine.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
important.
yeah.
So
Oh
running
yeah.
backs are over there with the jug machine for the Falcons, and I always noticed that even back when they had oh my goodness, UGA's finest, the Rams. I'm drawing a blank right now, but you know
Todd
who.
Gurley. Todd Gurley.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
Todd Gurley. I saw the third in
Yes.
my head, right?
Of
So
course.
Todd Gurley the
Yes.
third. That was the first time I kind of noticed, like, wow, the Falcons kind of put emphasis on making sure that their running backs are pass catchers. So yeah, I love that them as a true strength and superpower for the Falcons. Now, there are areas for improvement. There are still some weak areas where we're like, still might be a little bit concerned going into this season. So what would that area be for you?
Oh, come on, T. You know exactly where I'm going on this one. How about I'm gonna be Captain Obvious on this one. I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that little hat right there off your head and go ahead and put it on my head. Edge rusher. How many people?
I was trying so hard to keep a straight face asking that question. I'm like, duh.
Yes. Yeah, but here's why though. Like everybody talking about Calais Campbell. Yeah. To me, at this age, he's not an edge rusher to me. Like I feel like he'll be very, very sufficient, if they move him down inside on passing downs. You know what I'm saying? I know he said he's gonna be a defensive end in base formation. That's cool. I have no problem with that at all. But once it comes time to rush the passer, I want that 6'7" dude in the middle pushing that pocket along with Grady Jarrett. So those are some of the things that I feel like that will work for the Falcons and from an interior standpoint. But as far as guys who can put their hand in that dirt or be in that 2-point stance, however you want to do, however you feel comfortable, like we talking about Bud Dupree. Now, granted, he's put up some numbers in the league, but it's a reason why he's on his third team right now.
Yeah.
And you're talking about a guy, Arnold Ebiketie, who we talked about yesterday, that's my biggest concern. That's my guy who I'm going to have all my eyeballs on, all two of them. You know what I mean? So I think that given where the guys on third and long, and then they told me last year that D'Angelo Malone is going to be one of those guys. Anybody seen D'Angelo? Hey, man, you from the crib, man. You from the deck, dog. I need you to go out there and represent. So those are some of the things that, like, I really feel like that's where the Falcons are weak, right? And that outside linebacker, edge, guys who coming in on third down, pass rush specialist type dudes. They don't have enough of those guys, in my opinion. So I think right now, that's the glaring weakness for me, especially on defense.
Yeah, and I would even add Taquan Graham in the middle, because, of course, with that MCL injury, we saw sparks. We literally saw flashes of it before he went down for the season in about week 11. So I agree with you. That's the captain obvious for so many reasons, and so at so many positions, and even so many players that we saw flashes from for whatever reason, whether it was flashes and then you went down, whether it was flashes and then the game just didn't slow down fast enough for you, or it's flashes because, like you said, you're in some type of prove it situation and you're coming here to prove it. And so therefore you're kind of a grade incomplete. And for me, I would agree with you. And then just kind of to add some conversation and just some thought to it, it would be for me the O-line, and whether or not Caleb McGarry is finally going to get to the other side. And I know I said it yesterday,
Bring it
that's
on.
what I'm looking for. I just want to see them give Desmond Ridder an opportunity to do what I think Desmond Ridder can do. Right. And so, and that doesn't take anything away from not knowing what Matthew Bergeron is going to be. I mean, he's a rookie. So we assume that he's going to be good. We assume that he's going to be that starting left guard and that he's going to bring help for Jake Matthews, but we ultimately don't know. So I would put it, in addition to agreeing with you, about the pass rush, I would put that on the O-line to really ensure that the Falcons don't become one-dimensional on offense. So we'll talk more about it, of course, throughout training
Just
camp.
real
What do
quick,
you guys think? And you got one more, an honorable
just
mention?
yeah, just real quick. No, I was just gonna say, I was just gonna add to what you were saying because you talked about the strengths being the running back, right? They ain't gonna do jack if those guys up front don't get right, specifically in the passing game, because hey, that I feel like they have a chance to be dynamic in the area. Yes, I just said that. They have a chance to be dynamic, but they have to protect Desmond Ridder. They have to give him time. And Caleb McGarry is the guy who has that bullseye on his back, especially with Mr. Jordan down there in New Orleans. He said that's his son, so we seen that. So, but yeah, I think that the strength is going to be able to be brought out unless the offensive line, like you mentioned, is going to be able to solidify themselves up front and protect the third round investment.
Indeed. And we do want to hear from you guys because that's where we think the strengths are. Where do you think the strengths are for this team? And where are some areas of concern? Don't forget to drop that in the chat if you check us out on YouTube, because we actually do look at those comments and sometimes we'll even bring them into the conversation here on ATL Day Ones. And of course, don't forget, wherever you download the rest of your podcast, better download ATL Day Ones too, because we bring you the heat about all things sports in Atlanta.